Welcome to online instruction for stylistics. This is lecture number 10 and topic for today's discussion is sentences and structures, models and modality. Dear students, in previous lecture we have been viewing grammar as a useful source for constructing text in a specific way and providing a basis for its interpretation. And in this connection we did with noun patterns and then we observed pronoun patterns, and today we were going to see how models help us in constructing a text in a specific way and providing us basis for its interpretation. So let's get into it. In the warm-up session we will be reading objective discussion and we will be defining models and modality. I will also be discussing with you the vocabulary that we confront during the reading session. And then there are comprehension questions that we get in advance for the reading. In the reading activity, we will do stylistics and analysis of poem. This is a photograph of me. And when there will be post-reading activity. Objective discussion. By the end of the class, students should be able to following attempt a quiz on models and modality. Write a note on definiteness, indefiniteness, possibility, impossibility, permissibility, impersonality, likelihood and unlikelihood as expressed through language, especially grammar. Prepare a summary of the class. We will also discuss the significance of this class. This class is very significant for you because it will enable you to know the importance of models and modality in constructing a text in a specific way. This will also make you a good user of models when you speak or write, and this will also help you as a stylistician. When you stylistically analyze a text, you will be able to know the impact that the models and modality have in the construction of a text and its interpretation. Defining models and modality. Dear students, when you read the slide, let me explain that speakers and writers, when we give information, we also give our own attitude towards the information that we provide. We also give subjective assessment for the work. For instance, when I say it is like this, I don't know if it is like this. We may say it seems that it may be like this. Whenever we say something, we express our attitude. We show our subjective attitude towards the world around us, and that is what we mean by modality. And there are different models, there are different words, nouns, adjectives, phrases that are used to express modality. In grammar and semantics, modality refer to linguistic devices that indicate the degree to which an observation is possible, probable, likely, certain, permitted or prohibited. In English, these notions are commonly, not exclusively, expressed by modal auxiliaries such as can, might, should, will, or etc. The simplest way to explain modality is to say that it has to do with the stance the speaker adopts towards some situation expressed in an utterance. Modality reflects the speaker's attitude towards the situation being described. Modality is what makes the difference between factual assertions and guided view. Let's take these two examples. Number one, unicorn never existed. So here you express this as a factual statement. It is not opinion, it is an accepted fact. But in the second example, you present this as an opinion and not as a fact. For instance, Let us read it like this. It seems unlikely that unicorns could ever have existed. Now here the speaker is showing his or her attitude that they are not very certain about it, that they are just having this opinion. This is not a fact that is proven. Modality is about speakers or writers' attitude towards a word. A speaker or writer can express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, and ability by using modal words and expressions. Now, let us discuss some words that can express modality first. Modal auxiliary verbs, which are usually used for expressing modality, can, could, would, must, should. And then there are nouns. They show possibility. There is a possibility of snow this evening. And then there are adjectives. It is clear that the Prime Minister is worried about education. So, clear is adjective. It is used to express certainty. It is certain that the Prime Minister is worried about education. Then, adverb can also be used to express modality. I'm certainly not fed up. I'm certainly not fed up with it. Certainly is used to show certainty about the statement that they are making. Modality in language underlines our subjective assessment of things like whether we knew it is absolutely, it seems to be proven, it is absolutely proven, it has not been proven, or it is uncertain, or it is certain. So we express our subjective assessment of the thing and modality. Now there are adverbs that are used for expressing modality. For instance, probably. You probably have heard him. You perhaps have heard him. Generally you heard him. Definitely you have heard him. Apparently you have heard him. So you see, all these adverbs are used to show modality. And then there are phrases which can be used to express modality. It is certain, I'm sure you have heard, it is certain you have heard, I don't know if you have heard. So there are different levels to show certainty, uncertainty, clarity and clarity, vagueness that you expressed. Now there are verbs, for instance, it seems. Seems is a verb that expresses its modality. It appears, or the use of present tense, for example, oil floats on water. No, floats is very definite. There is no doubt. Oil floats. It is proven phenomena. First word is smeared. Smeared means dirty. Smeared print means dirty shapes are outlined. Then fleck. Fleck means a small spot or mark on something. For instance, the picture may have flecks on it that are spots or marks. And balsam, an oily substance with a pleasant smell that comes from different plants of plants, also its plants. So the oily substance comes from certain plants. Suppose any tree of pine family, a house construction with a skeleton framework of timber as ordinary wooden house, a frame house. So you have certain comprehension you need to consider for reading the text. Who is the me in the poem? Who is being shown the photograph? Number two, can you take the word of the poem literally? That is, can you take the actual words in its literal sense? Why is the speaker's only just under the surface? If she or he has drawn the day before, why can we eventually see the subject of the poem if we look long enough? If we look long enough, a photograph of me. So, dear students, so far we have been doing reading activity. We were discussing the things that will help us in this session, that is the reading activity. And in this reading activity, we'll do stylistic analysis of the poem. This is photograph of. So let me read it. Read the text along with the teacher and note the words that show certainty, clarity, definiteness, uncertainty, vagueness, indefiniteness, and illogicality. So here we go. Let us first focus on the title of the poem. This is a photograph of me. Dear students, the title is a definite and certain one. It is clear. We can expect that the author is telling us about a photograph of himself or herself. So this is very certain compared with the might or can or seems to be. So author is very definite and makes us expect that the author is going to tell us something about the photograph and probably photograph of the writer. We should also note that this is something that may change meaning in context. This is a dialectic expression is like this, these, those, he, she, it, now, here, there, because they are highly context bound. In different contexts, they may mean different. For instance, if I am standing in a mosque and I say, come here now, here we refer to the mosque if I am standing in a mosque. But if I am standing in market, if I say, come here now, here would refer to the market, not to the mosque. So similarly, if I say, come here now, and it is 9 o'clock, so now mean 9 o'clock. But if the time is, for instance, 12 o'clock, and I say, come here now, then now refers to 12 o'clock. So the point is that this is not very certain and certain that it may change its meaning according to the context. The meaning is only clear in its context. So we have discussed the title. Now let us discuss the first line. It was taken some time ago. So the photograph was taken some time ago. Dear students, the grammatical pattern shows that it is passive voice. Now remember, the passive voice is comparatively as not clear as active voice. Why? Because in active voice we know who did it. We know about the subject, and this line shows that we do not know about the doer of action, about the agent, about the subject of the action. For instance, the boys took the photograph some time ago. It is clear comparing it with the photograph was taken some time ago, and we don't know who did the job. The author has intentionally made such a choice of grammar that is comparatively unclear. At first, these words suggest that there will be another shade of meaning later. At first, it seems to be a smeared print. No, dear student, note the word that show vagueness, that show obscurity and unclarity. It feels at first it seems to be the word that expresses modality, that expresses uncertainty, that is not very determined, not very clear. It only seems to the speaker, and it is not like this. It seems to be like this. First, it seems to be a smeared print. A smeared print itself means it is dirty, it is unclear picture. Blurred lines and shows that the lines are blurred, dirty, unclear, and the gray flecks blended with the paper. With the paper we have gray flecks that is small spots, small marks that are blended. So it means the author is conveying the image of unclarity of a blurred picture. So in the beginning we saw clarity. This is a photograph of me, but then author or the speaker is showing an attitude in which he or she is not very clear about it. For them, the picture is uncertain or fake or unclear because its prints it seemed to be smeared print. It has blurred line, it has grey flecks blended with the paper. Now focus on the second stanza. Then you can relate then with the first. First it seemed blurred, then as you scan it, scan is a useful word here. The author has skillfully picked this word, intentionally picked this word because scan is a deep observation, looking at something deeply. Scan everything, commas, letters, colors, everything they capture. So the author has intentionally using word for deeper observation. Then as you scan it, you see in the left hand corner. So see again is clear and certain. You see the word choices you can see, you might see, you may not see, you can see. The author has used clarity here. See is clear, very clear. It's clear. Deep observation, and then you see in the left hand corner, and I think that is like again there is an unclarity. The author intentionally switches between certainty and uncertainty, that is clarity and unclarity. She says that as you scan, you see in the left corner, what you see it is not very certain. It is a thing and not the thing. The is definite and I is indefinite. It's not a branch but like a branch or part of a tree. Blossom or suppose. No, blossom and suppose again show a vagueness, unclarity, uncertainty. It may be bosom or it may be suppose. So the speaker attitude that he or she is not very clear about it. Let's continue reading. Emerging and to the right, halfway up, what ought to be a gentle slave. Now she is not very certain, not very clear, but she is indefinite. She is just predicting that it ought to be a gentle slope, a small frame house. Dear students, so far we have seen how he or she is describing the picture. There is a mixture of certainty and uncertainty. And remember, dear student, that the authors or writers are very skillful and they make masterful use of language. Their choices are intentional. There is always reasons why they use their choices. There are always reason and purpose for why they constructed the text in a specific way, why they make certain grammatical and lexical choices and not other types of choices. So let's continue reading. In the third stanza, the speaker says, in the background there is a lake. Now again, there is a lake and this is a definite, and author doesn't say that it seems to be a lake or it looks like a lake or perhaps is a lake. It probably is a lake. No, the word doesn't suggest that there is any uncertainty. It suggests certainty and it suggests certainty. In the background there is a lake and beyond that some snow hill. In first line we see certainty and definite, and then in the parenthesis see that the photograph was taken the day after I drawn. Author has preferred to use passive voice, and passive voice is not as clear or certain as the active voice because we are not sure who took the photograph. It says that the photograph was taken the day after I drawn. Now there is another point sense. There is illogicality in the sense of temporal references, because if the photograph was taken the day after I drawn, then how I can possibly speak it is illogical if someone drawn a ray for and right now the person is speaking to us. There is not something realistic. This is illogical. So why is the poet taking us between certainty, certain expressions, and why writer is telling us something illogically? Probably the author, he or she is inviting us to think in a different way, in a non-literal sense, to think out of the box, to interpret. She suggests that we have to ponder and we have to examine deeply in order to interpret the poem. Probably he or she wants us to delve deeper and think out of the way in order to interpret the text. Or in simple words, probably the poet wants us to go down the surface level in order to understand the poem. Then there are two very definite and uncertain lines. I'm in the lake in the center of the picture, just under the surface. So here the author is very clear, very certain, very definite about her position. She is in the lake and she doesn't seem to be, but she is in the lake in the center of the picture. She tells her exact location just under the surface. But again very soon she creates uncertainty by saying it is difficult to say where precisely or to say how large or small I am. Dear students, in a moment we saw that she is very certain. In the moment she is very uncertain, indifferent, and why? There should be purpose behind it. She says it is difficult to say where precisely or to say how large or small I am. So again there is uncertainty or indefiniteness about the size of the speaker. Why? The speaker explains further the effect of water on light is a distortion. So the speaker guides where is distortion. When there is something interference with our experience, then that changes the shade or shape of what we see. That has effect of distortion on what we see. But if you look long enough, eventually you will be able to see me. By the end, again, there is definite verdict given by the author. The author says you will be able to see. It is very certain, definite expression. Will be is a model verb for expressing definiteness and certainty. So throughout the poem, author gives us a voice between certainty and uncertainty, between the things that are blurred but things that are clear. So she in a way invites us to ponder more using the word scan, look, see. So she invites us and encourages us to see more and more in order to find reality. Tells us that the things are logical and she tells us that the time is logical. Apparently these things are illogical. Apparently picture is blurred. Apparently things otherwise. But if we see, scan, look, find and see, we will be able to see the definiteness. Now dear student, we see that on the surface level it is very difficult to interpret this text. So by virtue of this, the poem seems to invite us to think out of the box and interpret it on non-literal level, on a figurative level where words do not convey their literal meaning, where words are used in different meanings. So probably we need to think that she is drawn not in the sea of the water, but probably in the sea of paperwork. Probably she is drawn in the material world, and probably because of our overly concern with the materialistic aspect of the world, we cannot see the realities of human beings. We cannot see the spirituality that is the truth of human being. And to see that spirituality, to discover the reality, the author invites us to think out of the box, to think beyond the material aspect of the world, and to delve deeper, to cross the surface level in order to find the truth. Now, this may be one interpretation because when apparently there is illogicality in time sense, we can interpret it on a different level than we can interpret it on non-literal level. So the point is probably we can see that when the poet says that she has drawn, probably she has drawn not in the ocean full of water, in the ocean of paper, materialistic concern, and when she invites us to scan, look and see, then we will be able to see her is that probably human beings can understand themselves, their reality, their spiritual being when they get rid of the materialistic concern, the materialistic glasses when they take off. We see that there is mixture of certainty and uncertainty. The author has certain verbs, certain models, which sometimes give the sense of definiteness and sometimes of indefiniteness. Sometimes we see clarity, sometimes we see unclarity. And this is an intentional choice because the author has certain purpose to perform with these sort of models, and hope you have understood it. And now it's time for you people to do the post-reading activity. And the post-reading activity you have to attempt a quiz on model and modality. Write a note on definiteness, indefiniteness, possibility, impossibility, permissibility, impermissibility, likelihood and unlikelihood as expressed through the language, especially grammar choices. With a summary of the class. Dear students, before I wind this up, let me tell you that grammar is important way of constructing a text in a specific way. We saw how grammar has been used, especially in this case in models and modality. We also saw that there is a line towards the end of this page. That is, I'm in the lake, in the center of the picture, just under the surface. Now, this is very definite, clear, compact, concise and precise line. But very soon, just the next line, it is a long one, a complex one, which has subordinate and main clause. Now probably this also creates a sense that soon to the certainty you have uncertainty of grammar. Soon to the felicity of a grammar there is complexity of grammar. So the point is that we are not sure even which way the grammar is wandering. It probably also fortifies the idea that there is mixture of certainty and uncertainty in life. The grammar patterns are certain either. Even here we see that you move from simple, compact and certain grammatical structure to a grammatical structure versus uncertainty, and this is complex. Even you are not very clear which way the grammar is moving, and probably this again fortifies the ideas of certainty and uncertainty. So winding it up, let me tell you students, we have seen in this class how grammar can be used as a source for creating meaning, constructing text in a specific to generate meaning and to provide the basis for interpretation of these meaning. Now the post reading activity you will be doing all these things.